Hello, my name is Christopher Renstrom, and I'm your weekly horoscope columnist here on Astrology Hub. Last week, we talked about Mars going through a bit of a rough patch of sky. It was opposing Saturn and then squaring Uranus in Taurus. We talked about how basically, no matter what you did, it was not going to be right by the people that you care about or work with in the workplace. That in basically the notion was that no good deed goes unpunished. That no matter how heroic you were trying to be, or helpful in a situation, or standing up for someone in a time when they couldn't stand up for themselves, that somehow everything was going to backfire, that it was going to ultimately work against you. Although the one redeeming factor is that in the end, you will be vindicated, although that might not have been what you were feeling at the time when you were making this heroic gesture. And heroic gestures are very much in keeping for something like Mars in Leo. Now, this week, we have Venus entering the same exact patch of sky that Mars just went through. So last week, we talked about the spanking machine effect, the idea of getting paddled and maybe even punched in the arm as you run through the gamut. And what Mars suffered through last week and endured, because that is the nature of Mars, it toughens up when things get rough and challenging. Well, Venus is going to be going through the same patch of sky, and she's not exactly going to have the same reaction or response to all of this that Mars did. Venus is the planet of love and beauty in astrology, and Venus is basically in charge of attracting people into our lives. Where the sun expresses ourselves and talks about you becoming the best person that you can be, Venus's job is to bring people into your orbit who are going to help you to be the best that you can be. Her understanding is that no one can make it on their own. No one can be a success on their own, and that actually success depends a lot on the people who are in your corner, the people who may patronize you, the people who may promote your interests, and the people who are there to help you out when you fall back or are in a difficult situation. So Venus essentially in a horoscope will rule over relationships and alliances. Now, we know Venus pretty much as the planet that is named after the Roman goddess of love and beauty. And so we will attach things like beauty and love and romance to Venus. And Venus is no more romantic than when she is traveling through the zodiac sign of Leo. In fact, this placement of Venus is pretty much known as the golden Venus. Basically, she attracts all these wonderful things into her life, and she kind of bequeaths upon you the golden touch for the period of time that she's traveling through the zodiac sign of Leo. Now, just because you attract good things doesn't mean that this is going to be good for you. In other words, you could attract people who look fabulous and are well-to-do and are affluent, but they carry around a lot of psychological baggage or have some interests. Or have some difficulties in their background. Or you may attract someone, and because you attract someone into your life, maybe it's a lover, maybe it's a client, maybe it's a big name personality that you've gotten to patronize or support you, this may make you the cause of jealous glances and of intrigues because people are all of a sudden very covetous or very jealous of the things that you have. So being the planet of attraction is not everything that it's cut out to be. Again, as I said, you can attract good things in your life, especially if Venus is going through a sign like Leo. But again, you may also attract jealousy and covetousness from other people, people wondering, why are you getting these good things? And what did you do to deserve this kind of attention? And they might be starting to scheme against you or to be difficult. And so that's always the sort of thing you want to watch out for when Venus is going through a treacherous patch of sky, like it is this week with its opposition to Saturn and its square to Uranus. But the other thing that Venus is in charge of in our life, as I mentioned earlier, is relationships. And Venus's idea of relationships is basically relationships that are going to benefit you. Okay, so whereas Mars, for instance, has one purpose in the horoscope, which is to make sure that you get what you want. Mars's job is to go after what you want and support you in your pursuit of the things that you desire. Venus's job is to bring people into your life to make a better life for you. So she does this through, as I said, relationships and alliances. Venus is also a goddess, or named after a goddess, which was pretty well known for peace or trying to keep the peace. And so that's something that's very important as well. Venus usually or typically doesn't want something that's difficult or stormy, although when she's traveling through Leo, she can be a little bit of a drama queen, but not as much as when she's traveling through Sagittarius. But anyway, so Venus is basically here to bring allies and supporters to you, and she's here to rule relationships. But what can happen when she's going through a tumultuous piece of sky like she is right now is that these relationships are troubled or troubling. All right. You may find all of a sudden that people that you felt close to are very standoffish, aloof, or distant. That would be the idea of Venus forming an opposition to Saturn. Venus doesn't feel very attractive or isn't very, actually, a better statement is Venus isn't very attractive. The powers of attraction aren't very strong when she's forming an opposition to Saturn. Either her charms and persuasion are having little, if no effect, or she's drawing in people who are very cold, judgmental, and critical. This becomes even more difficult when she forms a square to Uranus later on. Now, what's important to remember in times like this, because you probably will be experiencing tense time in your relationships and alliances, what's important to remember in times like this, as you strive to be supportive, as you strive to be understanding, as you ask this person, maybe it's a lover or a close friend or a coworker or a superior, what's wrong? How can I help? Can I listen to you? And maybe you get rebuffed like, oh, you wouldn't understand, or the person just throws you a look, or they're not saying anything, and they're like, nothing, and you may feel like you're being thwarted in your attempts to be of comfort, in your attempts to be of help, in your attempts to be a confidant. Okay. And what this might make you feel is rejected, that, and what you might even feel like saying, but this is your inner voice, not your outside voice, is, gee, you're like, really great to live with nowadays. You're moody and you're difficult, and you're making me feel like I have to walk around on eggshells, and you're not exactly, like the best. Well, what you want to do is not say those things. What you want to do is practice your Venusian qualities, which is being diplomatic and there for the other person. Now, again, this isn't going to be easy for you to do, not with Venus traveling through this kind of a patch of sky. So an important thing for you to remember during this period are the following words. This is not about you. All right? In other words, what's going on is not about you. Now, that can sound a little rude and insensitive, not about me. Well, I was trying to be supportive. I was trying to be helpful. I was asking you questions, and I've been meeting with rebuff or caustic attitude or hostile glances. But it's important to remember, again, this is not about you. Venus wants to connect, but she's not going to connect when she's opposite Saturn. And those connections aren't going to be received when she's square Uranus. What this really is saying is it's your partner or the person you care about or the person you're trying to talk to who's going through the rough time and making life rough for you. But it's important to remember that it's the partner that's going through the rough time. So what you want to do during a situation, during times like this or periods like this, is kind of treat them like your adolescent daughter or son, circa ages 13 to about 18. In other words, you want to give them space. You want to get out of their hair, because everything you say is going to be wrong. Everything you say is going to be misinterpreted, and everything you say is going to invoke some sort of like angry response. So what you want to do is give this person a lot of room, give this person a lot of space. When you feel that urge to ask or to inquire or to be supportive, don't. Just simply find something else to do with yourself. Now, that might seem a little cold, But then again, Venus is opposite Saturn. It might seem a lot of cold, but what might seem a little cold, but what's important is to give this person space, is to let the person not call you for a day or a week, to not inquire about what's going on with this person, to let this person come and talk to you when this person feels ready. This is something that we all try to practice in our relationships, but it's not something that's successful because we can feel put upon or ignored or neglected, and then we get angry, and then, it turns into that fight that one's been having for, the entire time that you've known this person. So what's really good during this period of time is to remember, this is not about me. Okay. And what that also means is that it's not my job to fix this. So what you do is just simply give this person space, go about your day, and trust in the fact that once Venus gets to the other side of this difficult patch of sky, which ought to be about a week from the time that you're hearing me talk about this, that things will begin to settle down. The person may actually apologize, God forbid. No, actually, the person may apologize. The person may tell you, this is what was going on, and this is what I was struggling with, or I'm sorry I couldn't communicate. I just wasn't in the right headspace or the heart space. And the person might even thank you for having been understanding, sympathetic, and giving them the space that they needed. These are the things we need to remember when Venus is going through a rough patch of sky like this. It isn't easy finding the right balance between being around for this person and then being hands off. But if you can establish that balance, then you will emerge from all this craziness with your relationship stronger than it was going in.